My name is Manjeet Kaur.
And my name's Gurnaam Singh. Welcome to the One Show. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਬਹੁਤ ਇੱਕ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਵਨ ਸ਼ੋ ਲਾਈਵ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬ੍ਰੌਡਕਾਸਟਿੰਗ ਚੈਨਲ ਵੈਸਟ ਬ੍ਰੋਮਿਚ UK ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਰਣ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਰੂਬਰੂ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਔਰ ਹਰ ਹਫਤੇ ਮਨਜੀਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਡਿਫਿਕਲਟ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁੱਪ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਫਰਟੀਲਿਟੀ ਤਾਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਰਟੀਲਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਨਮ ਦੇਣਾ ਬੱਚੇ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਰਨੇ ਔਲਾਦ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਵੀ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਲਾ ਲਓ ਤੇ ਮਨਜੀਤ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਘਰ-ਬਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਨੂੰਹ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਸੱਸ ਸਹੁਰਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਵੀ ਬੱਚਾ ਕਿਦੋਂ ਆਵੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਆ
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵੇ ਬੱਚਾ ਕਦੋਂ ਹੋਣਾ
ਬਸ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
ਬਹੁਤ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ
ਸੋ ਇਹ ਹਰੇਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਸਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਕਪਲ ਦੀ ਆਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਹਰੇਕ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜ਼ਮਾਨਾ ਵੀ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ
ਕਈ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ
ਪਰ ਬਹੁਤੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਸਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ
ਜ਼ਿਆਦੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਪਰ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਰੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਕਿ ਕਈਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਸਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਫਿਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਮ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਫਿਰ ਵਹਿਮ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਦੇ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨਸ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਡੇਟਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੈਗੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਆਫ ਕਲੀਨਿਕਲ ਐਕਸਲੈਂਸ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ UK ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 1 in 7 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਪਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਤਕਲੀਫ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਬੱਚਾ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਪੈਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਪਰਸੈਂਟੇਜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਜਾਂ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਡਬਲ ਹੈ ਤੋਂ 14% ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਇਨ ਵੀਟੋ IVF ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਟ੍ਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਫਰਟੀਲਿਟੀ ਟ੍ਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਨਫਰਟੀਲਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਡਬਲ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਕਈ ਰੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਐਕਸਪਲੋਰ ਵੀ ਕਰੂੰਗੇ
ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਆ
ਹਾਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਪਰ ਵੱਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ
ਜੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਸ਼ਰਮਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਉਹ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਡਡ ਫੈਮਿਲੀਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਵੀ ਸਟਿਗਮਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਆ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਈਸੋਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਗਿਲਟ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਬਲੇਮ ਕਲਚਰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵੀ
ਜਾਨੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ
ਬਰਬਾਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਔਰਤ ਆ ਉੱਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਪਾਇਆ
ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ
ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਦੋਸ਼
ਵੀ ਲਾਏ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਅਰੇਂਜ ਮੈਰਿਜ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਵੀ ਚੁੱਪ ਧਾਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਹੋਰ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਿਆਹਣੇ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਨਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਚ ਲਾਭ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਨੌਕ ਔਨ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਟੂ ਮਚ ਬਿਗਰ ਕਾਈਂਡ ਰਿਪਲਸ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ and there's some evidence that you know there's actually they get
informations ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ information ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ
well yeah because of maybe language barriers or just
that's a big cause as well
cultural or ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ they might go to other people ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਾਬਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ
ਚਲ ਜਾਣਾ
ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ
ਲਿੰਕਡ ਵਿਦ ਇਟ
ਐਂਡ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਟੱਚ ਕਰੂਗੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ so to help us ਅੱਜ we've got a couple a brave Sikh couple from Walsall who actually have been going through this journey themselves and ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ they broken the silence ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੁੱਪ ਧਾਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੜਦਾ ਸੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਾਤਾ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ BBC One ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਲਡ ਮੈਰਿਡ ਸੀਕ ਐਂਡ ਵਾਂਟਿੰਗ ਅ ਬੇਬੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਆਈ ਸੀਗੀ So मेरा ख्याल ਆਪਾਂ अपने guest ਨੂੰ introduce ਕਰਕੇ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ ਕਰੀਏ
ਹਾਂਜੀ So first of all I'd like to welcome on my far right ਹਾਂਜੀ Vikram Singh Dosanjh and ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ Vikram Singh's better half Serena Kaur Dosanjh so just want to welcome you both and thank you for coming ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ We're going to hear about your story in a minute but just got a short clip ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੰਮੀ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ BBC iPlayer ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ 1 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ just to give them a flavor ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ then we'll go into the shows so ਲਓ ਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਦੀ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਹਾਂਜੀ
Infertility within the Sikh community is very much still a taboo subject. It's very much brushed under the carpet.
The Asian community is quite superstitious. If they're struggling to have a child, it's almost as if like you can't go near them with a barge pole sort of thing, that they're bad luck to you.
Me and Vic have always wanted children, definitely. I've always said by the time we're like 31, we want to have all our children and we want to have 3.
We'll have 3 kids and we'll have a dog and all that sort of stuff. So it was always on the agenda.
But it doesn't always work that way. A discharge letter. So this one would have been after our 2nd miscarriage. I almost had this anger and this resentment towards God and I thought, you know, I've been doing everything that, you know, I thought I should be doing, but you've taken that away from me in an instant and why would you do that? And Vic very much kept me grounded at that point.
So I always had my faith in that whatever we're going through is because there's going to be a bigger outcome at the end of it. It's not our time, God will give us our time, but we have to be patient.
This is London Waterloo.
Hi.
Hi, Serena.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Hi, Vic. Hi,
Thanks
how
for
are you
having us.
both? Please come through. Let's talk about what's happening with your fertility issues. So, you are going to need help, okay, with your fertility journey, no two ways about that. In the presence of such low egg reserve, your chance is going to be quite low. It's all more or less like the success for a woman in her 40s.
So at the moment we are researching people that have gone through surrogacy and IVF and have had different struggles with their fertility journey.
Yeah, it's always good to research and find people that understand what you're going through.
We've messaged Karina to see if we can go and see her. I'm looking forward to meeting her actually. Can we say hello? Are you having Cheerios? Yeah! What is it? What is it like having 4?
It's busy, but you know, I think we know what it took to get here.
Yeah.
And as much as at times it pushes all your buttons, you know, it's chaos, but it's beautiful. It really is.
So we're very much at the start of our journey. So we know that if IVF doesn't work, we're open to other options.
We were forced into surrogacy because of my own health conditions. It was never going to be possible to carry a
So that was Khalsa, welcome back here. So it's थोड़ी short glimpse हैगी जितना मैं क्या you can go on to BBC iPlayer and to see a full documentary देख सकते हैं
Serena, I'd just like to start off with you and I did see the documentary. It was very moving and very sad. And what inspired you to make the documentary?
So for us to kind of open up about our story, we had a very close family member share their own journey with us. And through that, they validated everything that we felt when we first went through miscarriage. So in that moment, we knew that we wanted to pass that on. We wanted other people to know that they weren't alone, most importantly, and what they were feeling and what they were going through was absolutely valid. And from that moment, we started off with a video, and it just grew. And you know, making the documentary, that was the main focus, was to let people know they weren't alone. Their journey wasn't a different journey. It was a very normal journey if they were going through that loss or that fertility struggle. And there were other people out there like us that knew what they were going through.
Vikram, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why we shared our story was because we used to go to this party the jande si like biyah the jande si the question that you used to get was when are you having kids
so you was always questioned that
always so we felt that it was necessary. We used to get tired of telling the same old story time and time again, so we thought if we put a video out there on social media just to see what sort of reception that we got, just to let people know that this is what's going on, and we hope that you can appreciate what we're going through. We put that on social media to begin with, and literally from that point it's just snowballed into what it is now. So we've got Him and Collective, the BBC One documentary.
Yeah, we will look at that in a moment, but I still want to kind of go back to that experience at the point where maybe you yourself maybe were keeping a lid. What was life like that? You know, you were saying you went to weddings and people were asking you, and everybody's not living a lie. Was it like that, living a lie?
A little bit. It's definitely a struggle trying to put on that front and say, oh yeah, you know, when our time's right, everything's fine, we're trying. Or it was, you know, when we first got married, we travelled, so it was like, oh, we're still travelling, you know, we're still enjoying ourselves. It was kind of just that front that we were putting up to people initially, I think.
And I mean, in terms of this is a difficult one because you know your parents have expectations, don't they? How was that? And you don't have to share any detail, but because normally, you know, in life, the parents are there to support you, but sometimes it can create its own tensions, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, we were quite lucky in the sense that
they
we
were
never
quite understanding.
Yeah, we got that. We didn't get that pressure from our parents, and plus, you know, we live with our parents, so it was never. They knew the situation kind of day in, day out.
What situation you were in.
Yeah, they knew our day to day, but we do also understand, you know, that it can create tensions when people are, you know, asking that question, and not only just for us. You know, I know that our parents get questions, or when are the kids having, you know, when are you going to have a grandchild, when the kids are going to give you a grandchild. So we understand that.
And that's every family experiences that. Harek ghar de vich kahani hai. Hanji. Vikram, I was just wondering about what kind of reaction since you've done the documentary.
What sort of response have you had as well?
From the community, you know.
From the community, it's been a really positive one. Very overwhelming, if I'm honest. A lot of people have come forward that maybe probably wouldn't have if
they wouldn't dare to. Yeah.
So sort of like.
I think do you think you opened doors for others to express themselves and?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all this was like Maharaj Nikamya. It's all God's work, and He's just chosen us to do it. But it's opened the door for so many people to just share their experiences and seek advice if they need to as well.
But how did it make you feel as well?
I've always been a heart on sleeve kind of person, so I'd always wanted to be transparent in everything I talk about. And this was just one of those things. So I felt quite comfortable talking about my own issues as well as what we were going through.
But that's really good to hear in a way, because men usually don't talk about anything about, especially that it's very sensitive, you know, to talk about these things. But it's good to hear from you as a man that you've been expressing yourself openly to your partner and sharing it, because that makes like a bond, and you can understand each other.
Yeah, because when we were watching the documentary, it was very, very clear that you were both kind of there together with each other. And that was very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't always like that, we admit, you know, at the
start.
You
go through struggles, obviously, but eventually you sort of maybe...
And I think most of that was when we went through our first miscarriage, it was during COVID, so we grieved very differently.
And that was the lockdown as well.
Yeah, so every appointment I was on my own, every procedure I was by myself. So I do admit, you know, we both say very openly, we grieved so differently, and there was that disconnect. Going through our second miscarriage, I think, brought us so much closer together.
But on the grieving, you know, again, we were saying that, you know, men are supposed to be like tough, but obviously there was a grieving process there. How did you express that in terms of yourself? You know, how do we men? It's difficult for men to grieve because you're not supposed to grieve.
You're not supposed to cry, show your emotions or your feelings.
No, that's true. I mean, especially with the first miscarriage, because of the restrictions in place, it was very difficult, and I think they put a strain on our relationship. And I automatically went into protection mode, so my first thought was to be there for Serena.
That's understandable.
Support her. I grieved very late on in the process while I was doing charity.
And it's something new. You never. It's like you never experience these things, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
So darshakan ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਿਕਰਮ ਤਾਂ ਸੀਨਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਔਖਾ ਕੰਮ ਆ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ।
ਤੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਪਰਦਾ ਲਾਤਾ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟਬੂ ਸਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਤੋੜਤਾ
ਜੀ
ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਪਬਲਿਕਲੀ ਆਉਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਸੌਖਾ ਕੰਮ
ਬਹੁਤ
ਨਹੀਂ
ਔਖਾ
ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਆਏ ਆ
ਜੀ
ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਕਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਖੁੱਲ ਗਏ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਫਰਿੰਗ ਸਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਹਾਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਨਜੀਤ we're going to take some calls as well ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਆਪ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਆਪ ਐਕਟਿਵ ਇਨ ਦ ਫੀਲਡ ਟੂ ਹੈਲਪ ਅਦਰ
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ
ਆਪਦੀ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਸੀਗੀ
ਸੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ as I say in about 15-20 minutes about we can open up the calls ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਦਿਓ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਾਏ maybe you saw the documentary
respond to that
or you want to ask them a question है ना
you're most welcome
you're welcome to ring in Punjabi ਚ ਬੋਲੋ ਜਾਂ English ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ I just wanted to I don't know you can both pick this one up because this word infertility I don't even know what the Punjabi word is maybe you can
don't know what it is myself
just what do we mean by infertility because there's a big spectrum isn't there
Yeah, definitely. Infertility can range from, you know, kind of women's infertility, men's infertility. So there's so many aspects to it. I actually don't think there is a word
in Punjabi. I don't think there is. I don't know myself. Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe the viewers can ring into it.
That would be good.
For infertility.
If there's a doctor out there and
can there be औलाद नहीं होती जब बच्चे नहीं is that more descriptive term? Is that the kind of terms you came across?
Definitely from kind of different generations we've heard that term but I mean you know this whole kind of circle of infertility is huge and I feel that only when you're in it that you start to understand the different parts to it
what sort of treatments are they for
so
the infertility?
There's so many. There is initially your testing to find out why you're struggling. There's also IVF.
Did you go to the GP or was it when you obviously because in a sense there's infertility when you're pregnant and you have miscarriages, but for some couples they can't.
It's the opposite.
You know, conceive. So the different entry points is that?
Yeah. So the current laws in this country are if you've had 3 miscarriages, you get referred on the NHS. To have IVF. We were refused treatment on the NHS, so we went down the private route because we'd only had 2 miscarriages and it was very point blank. You've only had 2 losses.
And that's quite expensive as well.
It's
quite costful,
But if we go back, because that's in the sense at the point where you have conceived, yes? But it's been miscarried. But what about where even couples have been conceiving, what happens for them? Is it just by chance or do they, because there's no kind of, they go to the GP, what happens?
I think if I talk about my experience, so when
I think that'll be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, if I had like an inkling that something wasn't quite right with what we were going through, so I wasn't sure if it was Serena or myself, so I took it upon myself to just get checked. So I did seek medical advice from the doctor and he recommended to do a semen analysis test.
Right.
The problem is with the NHS in the minute, the waiting time is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
so we done private route.
So you went private,
So we did private testing as well. So I got the results back within about a week, which confirmed that, of course, I had.
So you had a low sperm count, was that?
I had 0 sperm count.
0 sperm count.
0. Yeah. So obviously we knew that could be rectified. However, we needed to take treatments for that.
Yeah, hormonal kind of.
Yeah, so I had to take a hormonal female fertility drug called clomiphene. So I was taking half a tablet a day for 3 months just to boost the levels, which did work in the end. But again, each body's different.
Of course, it reacts in a different way.
You know, ਇਹਦੇ ਚ technical ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਵੀ try and get the viewers to understand because ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ it talks about the fetus and the sperm actually ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ I don't know if ਰਕਤ ਬਿੰਦ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ and it talks about how the sperm and the fetus come together to produce a new life and it's amazing we scared to talk about these things and the guru was there talking about it but itna hega but it's not an equal that's the case, it's not equal for every one egg there will be millions of sperms and correct me if I'm wrong I'm thinking about my biology at school but the whole thing is that those millions of sperms come into the fallopian tube and then only one will succeed, maybe 2 if it's twins. And the whole point is that the strong kind of, it's like swimming along, the strong survive. And it's a process of natural selection, isn't it? So that what ovulates is got a higher chance of not having any kind of deformity. Is that right? Am I kind of
Yeah, that's definitely right. I mean, a woman will obviously release an egg every month, and it's, you know, you have to get the timings right. There's so much to it. But we actually, when we've recently just gone through our IVF process, we did ICSI, which is again another medical term that we had no idea about before this, which is where they choose the best sperm. So they look for the best.
So they can actually look at them.
Yeah, which is what they can do now with kind of the medical side of things, and they find the best.
So they fertilise the egg with selected sperm.
Yeah, so they take the sperm in kind of like a tube, and they inject the sperm into the egg, and that's the process for IVF for some people.
So आजकल technology काफी advanced हो गई है, and I mean, what's the kind of success rate for IVF? Do you know?
It's very low.
Is it?
Yeah, I
think it's about 40 to 50%.
40
in general.
Yeah.
Really?
But in our case, it was 10%.
Okay, so it does vary, yeah?
Yeah, just depending on the couple.
Okay.
So when we talk about consequences, like...
Well, I'm just wondering if there are any other treatments for infertility other than the IVF. I mean, is there anything else that...
There's various treatments. So kind of as you're going through IVF, you can go through medical treatment for various different, problems. So for myself, I had high NK cells, which is my natural killer cells. So alongside the IVF, I was taking medication to lower my natural killer cells. And the doctors actually found that the reason we had miscarried twice was because these cells that I had were attacking the pregnancy and thinking that was a foreign object.
But could be other things as well, just like diet and lifestyle. Could that affect it?
That could affect as well.
Yeah,
in my case, that was true. So when I spoke to the doctor, they said that the reason why, although it's not 100% confirmed, they said that the reasons were that obviously one, because we're Asian, brown skin, so obviously vitamin D we lacking.
So we are lucky. I think we've been known by in the lockdown. We've been told by that as well.
Yeah.
So it बहुत जरूरी है कई जिदा क्या हो सकता है भी थोड़े अंदर यदि थोड़ी organs on their own functionality might be different, but ਖੁਰਾਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ stress ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ affect ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ lifestyle ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਦਾ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਮਨਜੀਤ ਬੜੀ concern ਆ I don't know if you got data on this but ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਤਾਂ couples ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ bride ਜਾਂ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਵੀ ਆ ਸਕਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੂਜੀ ਫਰਟੀਲਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ fertility rates ਕਾਫੀ
down ਹੋ ਗਏ.
I mean I don't know if you've got any data but I've heard about this that they're going down and that's really kind of quite worrying.
It's a worrying situation.
So you could be bringing a lower chance into this country in the first place, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's a pollution. They even said to Vic during our treatment, it's because he drives, so it's to do with the engine fumes, things like that. So
vibration of the vehicle can affect it as well.
Radiation is another big one.
What about age as well? When you go over 40, does that make any difference?
Yeah,
I think it's 35.
Is it 35 or 40?
Is that your peak?
Yeah,
that's when you actually goes down.
Yeah, but for a woman, it's from 30 your egg count starts to decline.
What sort of percentage is?
It varies. So between 25 and kind of 30, you're meant to have up to 30 follicles, and then after that, your follicles start to kind of slowly die off. So I think when you get to 40, you roughly have but maybe 5 to 10.
ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ ਚ ਸੀਗੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਫੈਮਲੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਚੇਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ 4 ਭਰਾ ਸੀ 2 ਭੈਣਾਂ ਹਨਾ ਤੇ we were an average family. I knew others there were 8, 9 and in those days it's ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ we might think oh well they high fertility rates in those days. It wasn't that. What it was that miscarriages भी ਬਹੁਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ and mortality rates were very high as well, infant mortality. So ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਮਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. And actually having big family was one way of trying to ensure that there'll be some survive. You know, life expectancy was very low.
But the thing is, that's true, you know, like my grandmother, she had about 12 kids. And some of them died and the rest were...
But the point I'm saying is that nowadays, you know, couples, especially in the West, they have smaller families, they're working.
Very small,
And that creates extra pressures, doesn't it? Because you've got the pressure on the one hand, but you want to pursue a career.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can maybe have children later on, and there's always a kind of tension there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot about women kind of freezing their eggs now.
Yeah, they do that.
And trying later on in life because of careers and work and stress and that kind of work-life balance, isn't there at the moment?
But that, I mean, I don't think the NHS would do that, would they? I think it's more private.
It's usually private.
What I do know is though that if somebody's going through kind of other treatments like cancer treatment, then for women and for men, they can then freeze their sperm or their embryos so that they've got a chance then. So there are those very special treatments, aren't there? Yeah.
I mean, what sort of like, especially for a woman who actually who can't get pregnant and whatsoever, and she gets labelled by the family or the community, names have been called for her, and what sort of have you been through this, or have you heard about this, that what sort of our community sort of label women as?
There's definitely that stigma that if you are struggling to have a child and you go to a party, for example, they're like, and we said this in our documentary, it's almost that don't sit near them, they're struggling to have a baby, don't tell them you're pregnant.
But sometimes there's even this sense of they might be cursed.
Yeah, there's that thought.
I mean, that's the myth, isn't it? They're cursed.
Yeah, I mean, not personally, we haven't seen it with us, but I've heard from other couples who've reached out to us that exact thing, that they've said they've been cursed.
But is that true?
No,
I don't know. Some people believe these things.
It's nonsense, but people still follow that, don't
they?
Exactly. I think it's desperation that people start believing that it's a curse.
They're blaming somebody else.
Yeah. They just need to blame someone. That's right.
The actual issues in the situation. So.
Okay, we can नजर लाती है लाती. But I suppose the.
जाऊँ कहने नक्शे का problem है हुंदा नहीं. They just make.
But but I think the danger there is that then that person might become seen as a bit of a outcast.
Yeah.
It's about almost like you can catch a disease off them.
Yeah, it's almost you're kind of shunned from that society a little bit.
Like they're not human, or there's something.
Yeah, you're put into this bracket of don't tell them, don't go near them, that sort of thing.
I mean, it'd be interesting. We'll open the phone lines in a few minutes now. In fact, the numbers up there. If you do want to call karna, I'd be interested to know is kehde baham ya, kehde superstitions ya, myths about infertility in our community. Tusi dasso, and let's put them out on the table. Let's get them out in the open, and let's expose these myths.
I mean, we talked about relationship, how can it affect your relationship, when you can't conceive, sort of, what other struggles have you, at the beginning when you had the first miscarriage, what sort of struggles did you go through? If you want to say anything, it's up to you how you feel.
I think the first one was quite a strain on the relationship because we didn't quite understand how each other was feeling. There was probably a lack of communication in there, so like Serena would grieve in a certain way and I'd grieve in another way. Whereas I'm obviously very God-fearing and I just believed that everything was Maharaj's hukum.
Yeah.
Whereas Serena was like...
So you was trying to give her hosla, don't worry, but for her it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was like unanswered questions, as if like, why us? Why is this happening to me?
I suppose one of the pressure. I mean, they tend to blame the girl.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but some of the pressure is go and get remarried. I mean, I don't know if that. I'm not talking about you, but that's something that you do hear
cases
about.
That's happened.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember saying to Vicky, what happens if I can't give you a child? Do you want to go and get married again? Because
so you felt almost obliged to.
And I think as a woman, you definitely put that pressure on yourself. You feel that pressure, and you feel that it's your fault.
We've got a call, so let's take the calls and then we can respond as well as the. So आजो पहली कॉल आ जाने जी हाँ जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह हेलो जी
हाँ जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह मेरी आवाज सुन रही हो
बिल्कुल मेरा क्या भैन जी बलविंदर कौर
हाँ जी मैं बोल रही हूँ सिख विमेंस अलायंस वालों पहला ते
धन्यवाद
मेरा दिल बड़ा फील ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੰਘ ਲਈ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰੀਰ ਔਰ ਲਈ
ਜੀ
ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਭਲੀ ਕਰਨ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਫੇਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਪਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ as from the group ਕਿ I know 2 ladies who had IVF treatment in their 40s.
Okay.
And it cost them a lot of money, I think. There's another lady in Gurdwara who actually says ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੋਤੇ ਲਈ 75,000 pound ਖਰਚੇ for ਇਹਨੂੰ ਲੈਣ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੀ ਹੁਣ ਪੈ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੋਤਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਮਹਿੰਗਾ ਆ 75,000 pound ਦਾ ਲਿਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਸਟਿਗਮਾ ਉਹ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ
put a label on you.
It's a label ਹੀ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਖਰਚਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਉਹ ਗਲਤ ਹੈ
ਤੇ so it is sad ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ niece ਹੈ, she is struggling similar to this couple. And I said to my Baji, shall I talk to her? And he said, no. She feels very sensitive about this subject. Don't talk to her, Benji. So I could really discuss it with her or give her any advice. Even that is sad कि तुसी ओदे नाल गल नहीं कर सकदे है ना? Because my brother feels I'll be putting pressure on her rather than helping her. So that is sad as well. ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਪਤਾ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੰਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਗਰ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਪੁੱਠੇ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦੇਗਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਉਹ ਉਧਰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ because there are a lot of people out there trying to exploit us.
ਕਾਫੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਮਿਥਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਆ ਵੀ ਔਲਾਦ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਲਾਤੀ ਕਾਲੀ ਅੱਖ ਲਾਤੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਆਇਆ ਵੀ different mythological explanations ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਗੁਜਰਾਤੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਵੀਂ ਵਿਆਹੀ ਬ੍ਰਾਈਡ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਨਾ ਘਰ ਵੋਟੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਪੱਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਪੱਟਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਰ
ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਟਸ ਫॉर ਗੁੱਡ ਲੱਕ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਛੇਤੀ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਹਨਾ ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਪੱਟਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਏਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜਾਦੂ ਟੂਣੇ ਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹਨਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬਡ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ you start taking it on yourself ਕਿ ਖਰੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੀ fault ਹੈ it's not your fault it's the way things are so it is
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਪਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਵਨਰੇਬਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਦੇ ਲੁਕਿੰਗ ਫॉर ਅ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ and somebody comes up and says we can give you a magic solution ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ let's try
ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਕਪਲ ਇੰਨੇ ਵਨਰੇਬਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਸਬੰਦ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਸੀਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੱਸਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਬਾਬੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਪਾਅ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕਰੋ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਹੀ ਘੁੰਮ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੋ this young couple must be finding the same thing where people giving them advice and they really are stressed out because of this unasked for advice as well है ना so I really wish them well and really looking forward to seeing them but as I said if things don't work out then obviously adoption is the next best thing maybe ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਲੋਕੀ ਠੁਕਰਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਨਾ so maybe they could take adopt couple of girls and bring them up
thank you
we will explore that as well thank you
ji
would you consider to adopt or anything like that
yeah so we're very much in the process of applying to be adopters now so obviously we've decided that the IVF cycle that we've just recently tried didn't work so we thought the next stage was to adopt so we're looking down that cycle and we've put things in place and we're applying now so the ball's in motion
I mean in take because really adoption is like a legal term but ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ there's lots of informal adoption ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਭਰਾ ਦੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਬੱਚਾ it's a bit like surrogacy isn't it that they would do that I mean that's the other thing isn't it surrogacy
and I've had that in my own family with extended family members
what making offers
that's happened so I've had a family member who couldn't have children and their brother and their wife they actually gave their firstborn to them
that's what I was going to say
so I've had that in my family and I know it's a very open thing but
I think that's a really
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It's absolutely beautiful. And I remember, on their wedding, they had 2 sets of parents walk them in, and it was absolutely beautiful to see.
Beautiful, yeah. That sounds really great.
But I think surrogacy kind of in this country is a lot more legal. You have to go through a legal process. And also very costly as well.
And also I know that again, adoption processes can be quite complicated, and there's what you call inter-country adoption as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
I know that some couples go.
You have to go through a lot of process like checks and everything.
Yeah. But I know that some couples go because in India there's lots of babies in these ashrams. Particularly girls. Look, we've got another call. Then we will explore. Hanji, let's go to the next call. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. Hello Ji.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਤੇ ਬਟ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕੰਪਲੀਟਲੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਆ
ਜੀ
ਇਸੇ ਲਈ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਓ ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਅਫਲਾਤੂਨ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੀ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ 75 years ਦੀ ਹਾਂ मेरे हस्बैंड पास्ट अवे हो गया और मैं कली और क्योंकि जदों इंसान दे नाल इस उम्र च कुछ बीमारियां भी लग जांदियां बाहर गल्लां भी दिमाग विच आउंदियां लेकिन सब तो ज्यादा बहुत वड्डा मैं थैंक यू इन्हां बच्चियां नूं कहूंगी पुत्र मेरे वर्गियां औरतां मर और तुसी जिहड़ा मुद्दा उठाया ये मां नूं भी समझ होनी चाहिए मां ने जो बच्चा पैदा किया लड़की लड़का एग्जैक्टली सेम तरीके नाल किया किसी भी गलती हो सकती है लेकिन मैं एजुकेटेड पर्सन हुई भी दरानियां जठानियां तो लोकां कोलों इंडिया बहुत कुछ सुनना पिया मेरा हस्बैंड थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग सीगा लेकिन उस टाइम दे जिहड़े हस्बैंड हुंदे सी वो गल नूं लुकाउंदे हुंदे और वो लुको के कहंदे तां तुहानूं नहीं सी उन्हां नूं पता सीगा लेकिन यही कहंदे हुंदे सी ਆਪਾਂ ठीक आ लेकिन इस तो ज्यादा गल तू किते कर नहीं सकदी आ नहीं तो मैं तेनू छड्ड दूंगा या मैं तेनू मार दूंगा इसीलिए मैं ये गल करना चाहती हाँ क्योंकि ये चीज़ां कोई किताबां च नहीं लिखिया ये सिर्फ दिलों च लिखिया
बिल्कुल
और आज मेरे को हार्ट प्रॉब्लम भी है मेरे को डायबिटीज भी है लेकिन मैं अगर कोई हेल्प की जरूरत है मैनू सर्विसां लेनियां पैंदियां वो भी बिकॉज मैं पढ़ी लिखी हूं करके मैं कंप्यूटर चला लैंदी हां
जी भैन जी धन्यवाद तुहाडा तुसी कॉल कीती है बड़ी
बहुत मैं सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक मैनू पता मैं टाइम ले लिया तुहाडा
नहीं
बहुत ज्यादा सब तो ज्यादा
बहुत धन्यवाद जेड़ा तुसी
जेड़े अजकल दे यंगस्टर्स आ उन्हां नूं पता आ लेकिन जेड़े हजे भी पुरानी स्टाइल आ उन्हां ने कुड़ी दी गलत कढनी आ और मैं चोरी जाके पता कीता सी कि आदमियों विच भी स्पर्म कईयां ते नहीं है क्योंकि जो उन्हां नूं मेडिकली कोई मम्स वगैरह दिखते आ
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ
ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੱਚੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੱਸੀਆਂ
ਬਹੁਤ
ਬਹੁਤ
ਔਖੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ
ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ
ਸੱਚੀਆਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਸੇ ਲਈ ਦੱਸੀਆਂ ਆ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਖੋਲ੍ਹਾਂ लेकिन मैं खोल नहीं सकती कि मेरी जान ਨੂੰ खतरा है
जी ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੋਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਖੋਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ
ਤਾਂ ਖੁੱਲੀ ਆ क्योंकि मेरे सिर से मेरा साइज नहीं है ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਸੀਗਾ।
ਓਕੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ। ਸਾਡਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਮਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੀ ਰਹਿ ਗਿਆ ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ
ਤੇ
ਲਿਆਉਂਗੇ।
ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ
ਠੀਕ
ਇਹਨਾਂ
ਹੈ।
ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਦਵੋ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਫੁੱਲਫਿਲ ਕਰ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ।
ਸਕਾਂ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਐਸਾ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਬਣੇ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਊਂਗੇ।
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਈਮੇਲ ਹੈਗਾ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਹੈਗਾ।
ਈਮੇਲ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਭੇਜ ਦਿਓ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਕਰ ਦੂੰਗਾ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਲਿਖਿਆ, ਮੇਰਾ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ
Okay.
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਓਕੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। Vic, I mean
there's quite a lot of things
lot
were
there,
said
isn't
there.
I mean she
and,
suffered up to
she's
70,
very-
75 years
yeah,
old.
she's suffered all
her
of life.
And she was thanking you that
What you
somebody's
actually
lifted the lid.
came forward to
Yeah,
talk about these issues.
I think it's so heartbreaking to see how many of that generation and that older generation have suffered in silence, and how many of our own generation are suffering in silence at the moment. So,
But also
And
she
she
was
did
saying,
mention one
blaming
thing.
her. There was a lot of blame on the girl.
Yeah.
She said in those days it was all blaming the girl.
I don't think that's actually changed now. I think
No,
that's
it's still the
okay.
same. But the one
Okay.
good thing I did like, she said my partner accepted, she said they accepted both
supported
of them.
her. Well, that's
that's
amazing,
fine.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's that love between them, and that's more than enough.
ਸੋ ਇਹ
you
ਮੈਂ
know.
ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਾਲ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈਣੀ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੀਵੀਂ ਆਦਮੀ, ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੱਚਾ ਦੇਣਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਦੋ ਆਤਮਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ।
ਇੱਕ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਜੋ
in thick or thin, you know that's how it is. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਮਾਤਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਭੈਣ,
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ।
ਉਹਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਤੀ
ਜੀ।
ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਖੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ,
ਲਓ ਜੀ
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ
ਆਪਾਂ
ਬਰਾਬਰ।
ਅਗਲੀ ਕਾਲ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। I missed the show in the beginning, but I heard a little bit
Yes.
the problem for the young bache,
जी, जी,
and
जी.
I wish them God's blessing all the way.
Oh, thank
And
you.
my dear member, I'm going to recommend them once they tell me what the problem is. They are same age as bache in the studio, and I'd like to mention that there is a radio. I won't mention the name,
No.
but I've got the number. They can take my number, and I can give them a number. And the doctors are very convincing. Once my member of the family turns to me about this, I will recommend them, my dear one. So I भी मेरे बच्चे
Yeah, we
मेरे
do
को टेलीफोन
appreciate.
नंबर हैगा या वो रेडियो दा,
ठीक है।
I can
जी,
suggest them to
on the
give a
screen-
try for that one.
On the screen you can
There's
see an
ਸਾਰੀ
email,
information ਹੈ ਉੱਤੇ।
email
Yeah.
address, ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੇਜ ਦਿਓ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਕਰ
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਦੂੰਗਾ।
ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦੂੰਗੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
Thank you
मेरा
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ।
नंबर ले लेने
नहीं,
हैं।
तुसी
ਨਹੀਂ
number
ਕਾਲ
ਨਾ
ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਦਿਓ।
ਦਿਓ, ਨੰਬਰ ਲਾਈਵ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਦਿਓ ਪਲੀਜ਼।
ਲਾਈਵ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਦਿਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ।
नहीं मैं लाइव नहीं दूंगी,
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
स्टूडियो च दे दा मैं
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
नंबर।
ਜਸਟ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਤਾਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਤੇ ਭੇਜ ਦਿਓ,
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ, ਉਹ
ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ
email
ਲੱਗਾ ਈਮੇਲ
ਲੱਗਾ
ਐਡਰੈਸ।
ओके
Thank
थैंक
you,
यू
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ
थैंक यू।
ਵਿਕਰਮ ਇੱਕ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ you know ਜਦੋਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ situation when you go through this sort of situation either you go away from your faith or you come closer. What happened to you guys?
I always relied on my faith, so obviously Barney gives you strength when in your darkest days. And if you look
Yeah.
at ITS as well, we've been through a lot to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
You can take strength from that in everyday life, and no matter what you're going through. So I got even more closer to Guru Sahib.
Wow.
I was praying harder.
That's
doing my
amazing.
Dasar was harder. With Serena, it was a slightly different path.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously she at the start. I'll let her explain.
I think I turned away from faith because there was questions
That's
of why did
understandable.
this happen
The
to
emotions,
us.
the feelings you were
Yeah,
going
you
through.
feel that, why-
yeah,
why me?
why are you
There's that
questioning
anger towards God of why have you done this to us? But it wasn't.
that?
and
Why
I-
has it happened to me?
Yeah, and I always remember Vic said to me, "There's a bigger plan for us," and I could never see it at the beginning, but now I see kind of that's grown to fruition. We're lifting the lid on these subjects,
Yeah.
so you know I turned my faith back towards God the second time around, and I was like,
that's
"There is a plan
beautiful.
for
Look,
us."
another call. I mean, it's obviously a really
it's major.
important topic, and it's great that so many people are calling in,
Yeah.
because sometimes people don't call in.
Yeah,
So,
and
log
they
ਆਪਾਂ
are.
ਅਗਲੀ ਕਾਲ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਜੀ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
ਕਾ
ਜੀ ਕਾ
ਖਾਲਸਾ,
ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Hello ji.
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
Hello. You're on live.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to.
Thank you. Hi.
Do you want to give your name or do you just share your thoughts, Hanji?
Hello.
Hanji?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you're live.
You need to turn your TV
Hi,
down.
I'm Vic's mom.
Oh, wow,
so
wow.
hi.
His mom.
Thanks for ringing, and
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you.
being their mum.
Yes, you're a great
And,
mum.
and all I wanted to say to them is that
Benzie,
Turn the TV
turn the
off.
TV off or go in a different room,
all
yeah?
I wanted to say was I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
And you know, my heart breaks out for them as their mother.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
As their mother, I feel their heartbreak.
Yeah.
It upsets us, but you know what? They're an amazing couple. We're 100%
Definitely.
behind them in everything they do.
No,
They are
absolutely.
great,
And you know, I think you know, we're proud of you as well.
Yeah, definitely we are. Yeah, and they got a lot of courage to come here and share their thoughts and feelings.
Thanks for ringing.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
I think
much.
we've got the TV on the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
So, but
Thank you.
thank you, Randy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's really fantastic that your mum's behind it, and because as I was saying, it can affect family relationships in different ways, can't it? Some people can go distant.
Some people come closer.
We're definitely a very, very, very tight-knit family.
That's really
and
good.
everything that we've gone through, you know, we've had that support. We've always had that kind of driving force behind us in everything that we've done, especially when we started sharing and opening up. So it's been amazing.
And that helps your journey as well. It navigates very nicely, connecting, and your family understands everything, what your journey is, what you're going through.
Can I just, Vikram, I want you to ask you something, because time's flying as well. We've only got about 5-7 minutes. कई लोग they go to Godmen, some Mahapurushas and things. Were you pressurized to go to Godmen, or what would you say about that?
People recommended it. But obviously, my faith
was so strong that.
Well, you've got the Guru.
Everything is.
Maharaji gives you, all the hope and everything,
So I relied on that. Sab kuch Guru Maharaj di hukum hi hai. Everything's going to happen for a reason. People that go to these godmen, go to these babbe, a lot of the time they exploit you for financial purposes, or they've heard other stories as well. And my recommendation to them is to please avoid that if you can, because you don't know what their real intentions are.
Well, there you are.
Trust in Guru Sahib and let Guru Sahib's plan work for you.
Absolutely, and I'm not saying any particular Baba, but there's lots of research that not just apne community. There are Western couples who go to India Jandeya, because they've been told that there's a godman. These people are desperate sometimes.
ਉਹ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਾਓ ਜਾਂ
ਚਲੋ ਆਪ ਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ,
ਕਿ ਆਪ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ independently.
They're searching on the internet, and then they'll come across these miracles. And there's lots of documentaries and cases where they've gone to India, and ਡੇਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, I'm not talking about Sikh godmen. India is full of godmen. And they go there and they say, oh well, leave them here and then we'll give them treatment. They end up drugging them up and often sexually raping them and abusing them. बड़ा कुछ होते चलता. I mean, I'm sure people, would be able to. So please don't go to them. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੰਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਗੇ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਗੇ. ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਅਸਲੀ ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖ ਆ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਦੇਊਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਭਾਣਾ ਮੰਨਣ ਲਈ ਕਹੋਗੇ. ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਖੰਡੀ ਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਮੰਤਰ ਕਰਨਾ, ਜੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੈਣੇ. Were you pressurized to go to a Baba or something?
We, as Vic said, the suggestions have been there, but obviously, we, like Vic said, we keep our faith, and we just, we hold on to whatever hope and whatever our story is going to be is what it's going to be.
Now we've only got 2 minutes left, but I just wanted to say something about, because I know you've been really active, and just tell us a bit about Himmat, the collective.
Yeah, so Himmat Collective started a year ago. We hold safe spaces for couples, men, women, anybody that's going through a difficult fertility journey, and it's just a safe space for them to share their journey, find support in other people, to know that they're not alone, and there's other people going around.
And how can they contact? Is it on Facebook, or is it social media?
So we're on Instagram at Himmat Co, Twitter at Himmat Co. We also have an email address. Serena.
It's just himmatcollective@gmail.com, so you can send out an email.
So ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਬਣਾਈ ਆ, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਸੇਵਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ. There's no business here.
ਇਹ ਪੈਸਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ.
ਹਿੰਮਤ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ collective, and have you got quite a circle now? Is it kind of
yeah, it's a great network, and we're holding our next space on the 25th of May, and we're also joining the Godwara next Sunday, so Swedek Godwara will be at.
So the going to be going to the gurdwaras, and again, you know, this is amazing seva. Asli vich
Sikhi ta hai.
Sikhi ta ehi ya, kisi da dard, kisi di lod, kisi de naal khade hona. Ta eh ho rahe ya, ta sanu bada maan hai bhi eh sade do hi bacche hai te keh sakde aj aaye a, ta jithe ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਔਲਾਦ ਲਈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਕਰਮਾ ਸੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ, ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਕਈਆਂ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਮਦਦ ਕਰੂਗੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਇਹ like a life mission now.
Yeah, definitely.
And who knows what's around the corner.
Never know.
And you know, I'm really proud of you that you've come here today. Manji, I don't know if you've got anything else that you wanted to share, because sometimes even as a mother, I mean, we never had that issue, but it's still something that's, you know, does affect a lot of communities, doesn't it?
I mean,
people
hearing from them, it's like quite seeing the documentaries, it's quite painful to actually, when I actually saw all of it, and it's, you know, you go through a lot of emotion as a mother, you feel, and you know, it's you can't describe this, how sort of feelings you go through, and it's very difficult, and I'm very touched with them, like they come here today, and it's you know, I can't thank them anymore, I don't know how to thank them. Sort of,
well, just say thank you, and Sadi Ardas ya bhi tusi chardhi kala chadho, and we will get you back if, again, we'll probably
definitely
cover one of your events maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
So ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਪਰਦਾ ਲਾਇਆ ਆ, ਪਰ ਔਖਾ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਪਰਦਾ ਲਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ. We've lifted the lid, we've opened it up a bit more, and but ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕੈਂਪੇਨਸ ਕਰੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਡਾਕਟਰਸ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਣ, ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੁਲਾਵੋ,
get them involved,
and you can save a lot of families, lots of people who are suffering and going to the wrong places and getting the wrong advice. So ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਆਪਣਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੁਣ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਵੱਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਨਜੀਤ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ.
Thank
you so much.
I don't know if there's any final words that you want to say to the viewers.
We missed out or something.
Yeah, and then we'll finish.
Just reach out. You know, you're never alone. If anybody ever wants to talk to either one of us, our social media is open. So please don't suffer in silence and reach out.
Vic?
No, always communication is key. So always have these conversations. Remember that it's okay not to feel okay, and just have faith in whatever faith you believe in, and just remember this is all God's plan. ਆਖੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਪਾਣਾ ਮਿੱਠਾ ਲੱਗੇ. ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ, ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਪੁਲਚਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰੋ. ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਜੁੜੋਗੇ ਜੀ. ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਓ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ.